There are moments, just as your reality is about to shift, when time itself seems to stand still. You're not broken or stuck, but in a holding pattern, a state that defies simple understanding. The people in your life begin to feel like strangers, their voices sounding as if from another world. The pursuits that once drove you feel hollow, and the deep-seated desires that once pulled you forward lose their power. This stillness can be terrifying because we've been taught that momentum is the only measure of success, that constant motion is the only path to purpose. But what you are experiencing is not stagnation or an emotional flatline. It is the universe installing your upgraded software. In particle physics, before an electron transitions to a higher energy level, it enters a phase known as quantum superposition. This isn't a pause, but a state of pure dynamic potential. All possible outcomes exist at once, awaiting a conscious choice. You are that electron right now, standing at the crossroads of infinite futures, feeling the weight of their possibilities. This is not a state of suspension. This is the great workshop of the cosmos, where your next great transformation is being forged in real time. Your linear mind, craving logic and certainty, will resist this feeling. But this realm of experience exists beyond its rigid rules. What you are witnessing is the dismantling of your old energetic architecture. Imagine your life as a series of energetic patterns and frequencies that have defined your reality for years. When your soul decides it's time to evolve, this entire framework begins to gracefully dissolve. Old agreements are released, outdated beliefs fall away. And because this profound shift happens on an inner level before it manifests externally, you first perceive it as a void, the absence of your familiar drive and direction. Your mind interprets this as a sign of failure, when in fact, it is the clearest indication that something magnificent is about to happen. Spiritual teachers throughout history have named this the fertile void, the quiet darkness, where all new life gestates before emerging into form. In this phase, your consciousness is recalibrating to match the frequency of the reality you've been calling in. The strategies and identities that worked for you in your previous life become ineffective here because they belonged to a version of you that is no longer. Your purpose in this moment is not to fill the emptiness with panicked action, but to sink into the vastness and honor it. This silence is not empty. It is filled with the wisdom of the quantum field, reconstructing your entire existence in ways your rational mind cannot grasp. Neuroscience confirms this profound process. Studies on brain plasticity show that periods of mental stillness are vital for neural pathways to be rewired. As you prepare to embody a higher vibration, your entire nervous system must be reconfigured. Your brain's predictive models are being updated, and your very cells are learning to anchor a brand new energetic baseline. This integration period is essential because you cannot drag the chaotic frequency of your old timeline into the coherence of your new one. You must first release what no longer serves you. Consider the moment just before a master conductor raises their baton. The entire concert hall falls silent. The musicians prepare, and a deep anticipation fills the air. That stillness is not wasted time. It is the very foundation of an incredible performance. Or think of a climber on a sheer rock face, pausing to find the perfect grip before making a difficult ascent. The pause isn't hesitation. It is the strategic moment that will allow them to reach the next level. Right now, existence is holding you, not to contain you, but to set you on a trajectory that will surpass what you could have ever achieved through sheer effort. The quantum field operates on the principle of non-locality. Your consciousness is experiencing this phenomenon right now. As you stand on the precipice of your next leap, you are already deeply connected to your future timeline. The version of you that already exists in that reality is sending information back through time, creating the exact stillness you feel as it uploads new instructions into your present awareness. This is why during these times, you may experience moments of absolute knowing, sudden flashes of insight about decisions that have tormented you for months. These aren't random thoughts. They are quantum transmissions from your future self, crossing the barrier between timelines as the distance between who you are and who you are becoming collapses. Here is what distinguishes those who make the leap from those who remain trapped. Most people misunderstand this suspension and inadvertently derail their own transformation. They fear the quiet, interpret the void as a sign of failure, and frantically try to fill it with familiar chaos and low-frequency distractions. But resistance only keeps you in this space between worlds. Those who successfully navigate this threshold learn to welcome the stillness, recognizing it as clear evidence of progress, not its absence. When you adopt this new perspective and see the strange calm as proof that your new reality is loading, you begin to notice the subtle signs that the field is reordering itself around you. A chance encounter that brings profound clarity, a sudden emotional release, or a new insight about a question that has plagued you for months. These aren't random events. They are vibrational adjustments, aligning you with the future timeline that is about to arrive. So if you feel unmoored, uncertain of where you're headed, but certain you cannot go back, then it is a time to celebrate. You are in the precise vibrational location where transformation is inevitable. And in the moments we're about to share, I will reveal how not only to endure this phase, but use it as the propulsion system for your next great quantum leap. Because once you understand this stillness for what it truly is, you will stop fighting it and begin to flow toward your next reality with a sense of clarity, trust, and the irresistible pull of destiny. One of the most surprising truths about a quantum leap is that it rarely announces itself with a dramatic show of power or obvious cosmic signs. Instead, it often begins with friction. Not the kind that brings obvious disruption, but subtle, disorienting moments where the pieces of your life no longer fit together smoothly. The connections that once felt nourishing now feel confining. The career paths that once inspired passion now feel meaningless. Even your inner monologue starts to sound foreign, as if it belongs to a person you once were but no longer recognize. This is the phase of vibrational friction, the precise moment when your soul is ascending to a higher frequency while parts of your life remain locked in the previous one. In quantum mechanics, this is called decoherence. When two systems, your inner growth and your external circumstances, are no longer vibrating in harmony, the resulting tension becomes impossible to ignore. This tension is not an error in the process. It's a clear signal that your current reality cannot support the energetic blueprint of your destination. Imagine trying to run complex new software on an outdated computer. The system will lag, glitch, and eventually crash. Not because of a failure, but because an upgrade is absolutely necessary. That upgrade is your quantum leap. During this friction phase, you might notice that conversations feel empty even with those you love. Not because they have changed, but because you are operating at a frequency that no longer matches their current reality. You are in essence speaking different languages. They are communicating from the old timeline, while you are already receiving transmissions from the new one. This can feel incredibly isolating, but it is actually proof that you are successfully separating from the collective frequency that once held you in place. Spiritually, this is when most people begin to question everything. Why does it feel like I'm falling apart when I'm supposed to be evolving? The reality is, you are not falling apart. You are simply falling out of resonance with your former timeline. And this friction is the exact force that will launch you toward the new one. Picture standing with one foot on each of two separate boats drifting away from each other. Eventually, you must choose one vessel, and the one that aligns with your new frequency will always feel like coming home, even if it means leaving the familiar shore behind. The old timeline operates on a foundation of density, struggle, and linear cause and effect. The new timeline operates on coherence, flow, and quantum causality. You cannot force the old mechanisms to work in the new reality, just as you cannot use a typewriter to browse the internet. The tools are fundamentally incompatible. This is why everything that belongs to your former reality begins to feel foreign, and why the methods that once served you suddenly feel ineffective. This is where countless people get stuck. The mind, terrified of the unknown, attempts to cling to what is dissolving. It desperately urges you to fix what is breaking, to repair what is falling away, and to restore what is fading from memory. But in the quantum field, trying to resurrect the past is energetic regression. What feels like destruction is actually the shedding of density, the outdated beliefs, patterns, and identities that cannot accompany you to your new timeline. If you rush to rebuild them, you postpone the leap. If you allow them to dissolve naturally, you accelerate it exponentially. The quantum field operates on the principle of entanglement. Once two particles are entangled, they remain connected regardless of the distance between them. You are entangled with your future timeline right now. Every thought you have, every emotion you feel, and every choice you make sends information instantaneously to that reality, shaping it in real time. This is why the dissolution phase is so critical. You are not just releasing your past, you are actively broadcasting your readiness to receive a completely new existence. During this phase, you might experience what feels like a spiritual identity crisis. The things that once defined you no longer feel authentic. Your job, your relationship status, even your core personality traits may feel like costumes you are wearing, rather than genuine expressions of who you are. This isn't a loss of self, it is an expansion of self. You are growing beyond the labels and limitations that once contained you. Sometimes this manifests as a complete shift in your values and priorities. Money may no longer feel important if you have been driven by financial success. Recognition may lose its appeal if you have been seeking external validation. Even spiritual accomplishments may feel hollow if you have been collecting enlightenment experiences like trophies. This isn't empathy. It is the natural result of your consciousness expanding beyond the frequency where those motivations exist. The old timeline operates on scarcity, competition, and the need to prove yourself. The new timeline operates on abundance, collaboration, and the inner knowing that you are already enough. As you transition between these frequencies, the old motivations literally cease to make sense to your expanding awareness. This can feel disorienting because your mind is trying to navigate with outdated maps. The field of physics provides a perfect metaphor for this. When an electron transitions to a higher orbital, it must absorb a very specific amount of energy. Not more, not less. Once it reaches that precise threshold, it instantly appears in the new state. There is no gradual movement, no intermediate zone. Similarly, your quantum leap happens the moment your frequency perfectly matches the reality you are moving toward. Not through force or manipulation, but by allowing the old frequency to fully release so the new one can take its place. This is why excessive action during this phase often backfires. The frantic urge to fix or push is a sign that you are trying to bridge two incompatible realities with effort alone. But effort operates much slower than alignment. The quantum field responds not to how hard you work, but to how purely you resonate. A single moment of perfect alignment will accomplish more for your shift than weeks of scattered activity. What we've explored today about quantum jumping is just the surface level of a much deeper understanding. If you are feeling a connection to these concepts and want to master the complete system of conscious frequency transmission, I have created a comprehensive guide called Beyond the Frequencies, a quantum guide to consciousness mastery. It walks you through the 9 master frequencies that transform you from someone seeking change to someone who embodies it effortlessly. It's linked in the pinned comment below. If you have noticed lately that certain elements are naturally falling away, relationships, opportunities, even parts of your personality, try this reframe. Instead of asking, "How do I restore them?" ask, "What new space is this creating?" That simple shift in perspective changes your frequency from resistance to receptivity. In the quantum field, resistance creates a static that scrambles your signal. Receptivity creates a clear channel that magnetizes the exact timeline already calibrated to your desires. And here is the beautiful paradox. The more desperately you try to speed up this phase, the longer it will last. Consider it a necessary period of decompression between who you were and who you are becoming. In deep-sea dieting, ascending too quickly causes decompression sickness. Spiritually, the same principle applies. If you try to leap without integrating the energetic shifts, your system will automatically pull you back to stabilize. This is why patience, trust, and presence are not passive states. They are the active catalysts of your transformation. So, if your life currently feels half erased, if you are standing in the remains of what no longer serves you while unable to see what is being built, you are in the exact right place. This is not a detour from your path. This is the launching pad. The friction you feel is energy coiling up, preparing to propel you into the reality that already exists for you in the quantum field. If this understanding resonates deeply within you, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to this frequency. Your engagement helps this message find others who are ready for this transmission. Your only responsibility is to stop holding on to the edge of the dissolving boat and trust the current of the emerging one. Because here is the truth. Your soul already knows. Your quantum leap is not waiting for perfect timing. It is waiting for the perfect you. And the moment you stop trying to fix what is leaving and begin to attune to what is arriving, the field will snap into perfect alignment around you. That is when everything shifts instantly, effortlessly, and with a sense of inevitability that will make you wonder why you ever doubted it. Just before a quantum leap materializes, you might find that your emotional landscape feels heightened beyond recognition, as if someone has turned up the sensitivity on every feeling you experience. One moment, you are vibrating with absolute certainty that something magnificent is about to unfold. The next moment, a wave of doubt creeps in, suggesting that perhaps you are just creating elaborate fantasies. This is not emotional instability or spiritual confusion. It is the energetic signature of a consciousness in transition. Neuroscientists explain that your brain operates through predictive modeling, constantly generating mental previews of future events based on past data. While your higher self is magnetizing you toward a new reality, your subconscious remains attached to the old programming, trying to run familiar software because it represents safety and predictability. In quantum mechanics, this is superposition, the fascinating state where multiple possible realities coexist simultaneously. You exist in both timelines, the one you've been inhabiting and the new one you are stepping into. Your emotions become the oscillation between these two realities. When you experience waves of excitement followed by valleys of fear, it's not regression. It's evidence that your energy is fluctuating between states as the field works to find coherence. The more intense the oscillation, the closer you are to the collapse, the moment when one timeline becomes your single reality. This explains why emotional turbulence before a quantum leap often feels so overwhelming. Everything feels amplified because your internal navigation system is recalibrating in real time. Every belief, memory, and attachment you've carried is being scanned by your consciousness. Does this belong in the new reality, or is it residue from the old? This process is inherently emotional, because emotions are the biochemical signals of transformation. They alert your body that you are venturing into uncharted territory, and your body's main priority is survival, which often means sticking with what is familiar, even if it is out of alignment. During this emotional amplification phase, you might find yourself crying for no reason or laughing with a joy that seems disconnected from your circumstances.
These aren't signs of instability, they are signs of energetic purification. Your system is releasing density that cannot exist in your new timeline. Old sorrow, suppressed excitement, and forgotten aspirations are all rising to be acknowledged and released. Think of it as a cosmic spring cleaning of your emotional body. You might also notice that your dreams become incredibly vivid and strange during this time. This is because your subconscious is processing the transition between realities. In dreams, you have access to information from multiple timelines simultaneously. Pay attention to recurring themes, symbols, or feelings in your dreams. They often contain messages about the reality you are moving toward, or guidance about what you need to release to complete the transition. The critical mistake most people make is interpreting doubt as a sign of failure. They begin to think, if I were truly on the verge of a quantum leap, I wouldn't feel this much fear. But that's like believing turbulence means an aircraft isn't flying. Turbulence actually means you are moving through atmospheric layers that require navigational adjustments. Your emotions are adjusting to an altitude you have never experienced before. The faster you learn to ride these currents instead of bracing against them in terror, the smoother your journey becomes. Here is a new perspective that can be transformative. Instead of labeling your emotions as positive or negative, recognize them as energy signatures. Joy, anticipation, fear, uncertainty, they are all currents of energy flowing through your field. None of them are fundamentally wrong. They are simply showing you where your attention is focused in this moment. If you react to them as obstacles, you reinforce the oscillation. If you observe them as data, you begin to stabilize your signal toward your chosen reality. From a spiritual perspective, these intensified emotions are a form of initiation. The universe is essentially asking, can you hold your frequency even while the landscape shifts around you? Because the timeline you are entering will also present new experiences, challenges, and unknowns. Your ability to remain coherent now is what prepares you to thrive later. In this sense, emotional turbulence is not a test you can fail. It is the training ground that develops your vibrational stability. A single practice that dramatically accelerates stabilization is conscious neutrality. When excitement peaks, don't get attached to it as the only indicator of your progress. When doubt surfaces, don't interpret it as a signal to retreat. Instead, breathe into both states, knowing they are temporary fluctuations within a much larger journey. Visualize yourself as the calm eye of the storm, steady and grounded, watching the weather patterns shift around you without being swept away by them. This level of emotional mastery is the signature of someone moments away from collapsing into their desired reality. So if your emotional world has felt like a roller coaster lately, understand this: you are not unstable. You are in motion. The field is adjusting to hold you in the frequency of your chosen timeline. And the more gracefully you navigate these waves, the faster the oscillation will resolve into a single solid reality. Soon, you will no longer be flickering between worlds. You will have landed completely in the one you've been calling in. Take a moment and share in the comments below. What old pattern or belief are you consciously choosing to release as you step into this new timeline? Most people imagine the final examination before a quantum leap as if the universe were a harsh judge, ready to evaluate their worthiness with cosmic scrutiny. But the reality is far more personal and empowering. This is not the universe deciding if you deserve to advance. It is your own subconscious conducting its final systems check, bringing to the surface the last pieces of your old identity so you can consciously choose to release them. You might suddenly encounter the exact same patterns you believed you had already transcended. A conversation that triggers the same buttons an old relationship did. A financial situation that reawakens the same scarcity programming you felt years ago.
a wave of self-doubt that sounds hauntingly familiar. These moments are not cosmic punishment. They are mirrors reflecting the frequency you used to inhabit, giving you one last opportunity to decide definitively whether you still want to reside there. From a neuroscience perspective, your brain values efficiency. It will always default to the most established neural pathways first, the familiar reactions and behaviors you have rehearsed countless times. When you are on the threshold of a quantum leap, those neural patterns are still active, hoping you will validate them one final time so they can maintain their dominance. The only way to permanently rewire them is not through force, but through demonstration. By embodying the new version of yourself, even when the old triggers are directly in front of you. Every time you choose the elevated frequency response, you weaken the outdated pathway and strengthen the emerging one. In quantum language, this is the collapse of the old probability wave. Until you make a new choice, both versions of you, the one who reacts from history and the one who responds from alignment, exist in superposition. The moment you act in harmony with your chosen timeline, you collapse the reality of your former self, and the new one becomes the only active frequency you are broadcasting into the field. This is why the challenges that appear right before transformation feel so electrically charged. They represent the final superposition between who you were and who you are becoming. Spiritually, this stage is less an examination and more a sacred ceremony. It is the moment you stand at the gateway holding the key to your new reality. The only thing the door requires is that you respond from the frequency you have been cultivating. If you meet scarcity with a mindset of abundance, anger with compassion, and doubt with an unshakable presence, you are not just symbolically prepared, you are vibrationally locked into your new timeline. The field does not need to approve you. It simply reflects who you are being in this moment. And in this moment, being is everything. The trap here is misinterpretation. Many people see these resurfacing challenges as evidence that they are regressing. They think, if I am still attracting this energy, I must be failing. But the truth is, the very appearance of these scenarios proves you have shifted enough for them to be purged from your field. You cannot clear what you have not yet outgrown. The fact that you are now conscious of these patterns and questioning how to respond differently is the strongest indication that you are almost through. Think of it like a flight simulator. Pilots train for turbulence so that when it occurs in real conditions, they already know exactly how to maintain stability. These final test moments before a quantum leap are your simulator sessions. They provide the opportunity to embody your new state under conditions that would have previously knocked you off balance. Navigate this test by responding from your upgraded frequency, and you're not just imagining your new reality, you are living it in the present moment. So if you are currently experiencing tension, setbacks, or figures from your past reappearing, do not automatically interpret this as stagnation. Instead, recognize it as the clearest possible signal that you are brushing against the threshold of your leap. This is the moment to hold your alignment most powerfully, to act as if the jump has already happened. Because in a very real quantum sense, it already has. Anchor your commitment into the field by commenting below with these words: I choose the new timeline. Let that be your quantum declaration that you have already crossed over. Here's what no one prepares you for about a quantum leap. It rarely arrives with fanfare or dramatic revelations. In movies, the transformation is spectacular. Explosions of light, orchestral crescendos, a before and after so stark it's undeniable. But in authentic quantum reality, the leap often settles in quietly. One morning, you awaken and notice the anxiety that used to consume you has simply vanished. The problem you obsessed over for months suddenly feels completely irrelevant.
A conversation that would have devastated you last week now leaves you entirely unmoved. The shift doesn't announce itself with trumpets. It just becomes who you are. And because it feels so natural, your mind might try to minimize it, wondering, was that the big change? This is where understanding the true nature of quantum transformation becomes essential. In physics, when an electron transitions to a higher energy level, it happens instantaneously. No gradual ascent, no visible struggle. 1 nanosecond it occupies one orbital, the next it is established in another. That is precisely how you shift between timelines. The arrival isn't marked by fireworks, but by resonance. The old frequency dissolves so completely that it becomes difficult to remember why it ever felt like home. From a neurological perspective, this represents the integration phase. Your brain has stopped firing the outdated circuits and begun solidifying the new ones. You no longer need to consciously think differently. It is simply your new natural state. This is why so many people miss the moment of their leap. It feels as natural as breathing. And that is exactly the point. The version of you who inhabits your new reality doesn't experience it as a breakthrough, they experience it as normal. The quiet arrival often begins with subtle shifts in your preferences and reactions. Foods you used to crave no longer appeal to you. Music that once moved you now feels flat. Places that once felt like home now feel foreign. These aren't signs of depression or disconnection. They are signs of a frequency upgrade. Your system is naturally gravitating toward what matches your new vibration and losing interest in what belonged to your old one. You might also notice that certain people begin to fade from your life without any dramatic conflicts or conscious decisions. Friendships that once felt essential now feel forced. Conversations that once energized you now drain you. This isn't because these people are bad. It's because you are no longer vibrating at the same frequency. The quantum field automatically adjusts your social environment to match your new state of being. Spiritually, this quiet arrival is the most profound confirmation you can receive. It is the universe's way of communicating that you have matched the frequency so completely there is nothing left to manifest. You are simply living it now. There is a deep sense of tranquility in this stage, a feeling that you have stopped chasing and have started inhabiting it. And paradoxically, it is often when you stop looking for signs that you begin to notice them everywhere. Unexpected opportunities, people appearing at precisely the right moment, and synchronicities stacking up like breadcrumbs guiding you forward. The temptation here is to probe the field, to return to overdoing or second-guessing because you believe manifestation should always feel dramatic. But in truth, drama belongs to the old timeline. The new one is about flow. It's about trusting that just because the jump felt subtle doesn't mean it was insignificant. In fact, the quiet shifts are often the most permanent because they happen at the identity level, not just in your circumstances, but in who you are being. This is also the moment to embrace embodiment. Instead of asking, "Did it work?" you begin to ask, "How do I live fully as this new version of myself?" Every choice you make from here on reinforces the reality you have jumped into. Every action becomes an expression of alignment rather than a desperate attempt to create change. And that is when the quantum field responds with even greater coherence, weaving new possibilities into your experience without any effort on your part. So if you've been expecting your leap to feel like an explosion, pay attention to the subtle shifts, the peaceful mornings where you feel unexpectedly light, the conversations that flow without friction, the sudden clarity about decisions that used to paralyze you. These are the markers of arrival. You are already in the new reality. Now your only task is to continue living there. If you subscribe to this channel, you are not just subscribing to content. You are subscribing to a frequency, to a conversation, to a movement of consciousness that recognizes reality as fluid
and transformation as inevitable. This is about more than just information. This is about elevation. Here is the truth. If you have stayed with me through this entire journey today, it is not a coincidence. You are receiving this transmission because you have already been resonating with a higher timeline. You have already been attuning to the frequency of the version of you that already possesses what you have been requesting. This is not about reaching some far-off destination anymore. You are there now. It is about stabilizing, integrating, and expanding from this new foundation. In quantum terms, the leap you have made is only the beginning. The quantum field responds most powerfully not to desire, but to coherence. And you have just demonstrated to yourself that you can sustain that coherence long enough to collapse an entirely new reality around you. The next phase is making this frequency your permanent residence. That means no more reverting to old patterns when life becomes quiet. It means no more testing the universe to confirm it is still working. It is about anchoring yourself so deeply in this new identity that it becomes unshakable. Remember, you are not here to force your life into some predetermined shape. You are here to align with the reality that already contains everything you have ever desired, and then witness it unfold with a naturalness that feels almost effortless. That is the elegance of living in harmony with the quantum field. Consider watching this transmission daily for the next week, perhaps each morning as you set your frequency for the day. And if someone in your life is ready for this understanding, share this video with them. When you share quantum consciousness concepts like these, you are not just helping another soul awaken. You are strengthening your own embodiment of these principles and creating synchronic ripples that accelerate your own transformation. Drop one word in the comments that captures the energy you are choosing to embody moving forward. Let that be your energetic signature to the quantum field, your declaration of the frequency you are now claiming as home. I will meet you in the next transmission. Until then, stay coherent, stay present, and trust the quiet power of the leap you have already taken. Now that you understand the quantum mechanics of your transformation, you are ready to discover what happens after the leap is complete. In my next video, you just shifted into the chosen timeline. I will reveal the specific signs that confirm you have successfully landed in your new reality and how to recognize when the field has permanently shifted around you. This entire journey of conscious evolution is a continuous dance between releasing the old and embracing the new. And the true test is not in the grand, dramatic moments, but in the sustained stillness that follows. The quantum leap, once completed, isn't the finish line. It is the starting point of an entirely new game. You have landed in a reality built on a foundation of trust, flow, and synchronicity. And the next challenge is to stop trying to manifest and simply allow. Your mind, conditioned by a lifetime of struggle, will try to re-engage with old habits of effort and force, wondering if it's still working just because there's no more visible friction. But the sign that you have arrived isn't a billboard, it's the absence of the frantic need to chase. The universe has already responded to your new frequency, and now it is rearranging itself around you, presenting opportunities, people, and insights that perfectly match your elevated state. The greatest act of power you can perform now is to remain anchored in this new reality, to respond to every challenge from a place of radical trust and inner knowing, and to understand that the work has shifted from doing to being. Your purpose has moved from creating the life you desire to simply living it. And the more you align with this state of effortless flow, the more the field will continue to collapse in your favor, revealing a world that has been waiting for you all along. The final stage of this process, the one that most people miss, is what I call quantum normalization. This is the period where the extraordinary becomes your new ordinary. Your nervous system, which was once on high alert during the intense periods of friction and emotional turbulence, now begins to settle. The miraculous synchronicities that used to feel like rare, powerful signs become the part of your daily rhythm. The right person calling you at the exact moment you needed to hear from them. An unexpected financial windfall showing up in your bank account, or an idea for a creative project downloading into your mind with perfect clarity. These events no longer feel like coincidences. They feel like the natural, inevitable result of your new vibrational state. Your energy has stabilized at a higher frequency, and the universe is simply reflecting that back to you without effort. The key is to avoid the temptation to test this new reality by reverting to old, low-frequency behaviors. If you find yourself slipping back into worry or doubt, it's not a sign of failure, but a gentle reminder that you are a powerful, energetic being who has the choice to broadcast a different signal at any moment. Your responsibility is to guard your inner peace with fierce intention, to celebrate the quiet victories, and to recognize that true mastery is not in the struggle to ascend, but in the elegant, effortless art of maintaining your new frequency. This is where the magic truly begins. The core of this next phase is a deep internal shift from seeking validation to embodying your reality. The old timeline operated on a constant need for external proof. You needed to see the results to believe you were on the right path. But in this new reality, the external is simply a mirror of your internal state. You have already shifted, and the world is now catching up. This means your work is no longer about forcing outcomes, but about cultivating your inner landscape. It's about spending time in meditation, not to manifest, but to simply be in the frequency of your new reality. It's about engaging in activities that bring you joy, not because they will lead to a specific result, but because they are expressions of your new expanded self. The universe is now asking you to trust the process so completely that you can release the need for constant feedback. This is the ultimate spiritual test. Can you be in perfect trust and peace even when things are quiet? Because in that quiet, everything is already being orchestrated for your highest good. The universe is preparing to show you what is possible when you stop trying to control every detail and simply allow the extraordinary to unfold.